So you want to learn how to make one of the most coveted foods in America? Great, just understand that we're stepping on sacred ground right now. Sacred! We're talking Texas brisket. Yeah. Where do I start with this? Well, first off, a good majority of my family, including my mother, are native Texans, and I live in one of the centers of barbecue in the entire world, Austin, Texas, surrounded by all of the great barbecue people. But you know, I just haven't been able to make brisket as much as I'd like to. Part of that is due to the fact that, you know, I live in an apartment. It's kind of illegal to use my smoker, even though I have one, not saying that I use it or anything, because I don't. Let me stop myself real quick because this is a special kind of video. Because we're gonna go down to Houston, Texas with my mom, my dad, my Uncle Larry, and we're gonna use his hand-built smoker to make this beauty. And to be honest with you, I gotta get the hell out of here because it's like 4 o'clock and I gotta go stare at the road for 2.5 hours. So well, I'm really excited about that part. Let's get out of here and make this, shall we?
Okay, let's talk about the most important part here, picking a brisket. If you don't start with a good brisket, you're not gonna have a good time. Two things really matter here. A, it needs to be well marbled, so make sure that it's USDA prime at the very least. You don't want a brisket that's super lean with its intramuscular fat. Otherwise, that's gonna lead to a tougher, less juicy brisket. The second thing is you don't want a thin brisket, and you also want that brisket to be as even as possible. You don't want it to have a giant front and then a really skinny back, otherwise it's gonna cook unevenly. And if you don't believe me, ask award-winning pitmaster Philip.
Pick out a good brisket, thick tail, where you can fold the brisket in half, where it almost touches, and then you're good to go.
So do your best to find that. Now, I would normally never recommend this, but for smoked brisket, you really need to trim off about 1/4 inch or 6 millimeters off of the fat cap on both sides of the brisket. The fat's really not gonna render a ton off. You want enough for it to protect the brisket and sort of base the brisket a little bit, but not too much. And for the record, don't throw away the fat. Freeze it and use it for something else. Okay, now we're ready to rub the brisket, which I feel like oftentimes the seasonings here are really overdone. I like to keep it simple and just let the flavor of the smoke and the meat be the star of the show. Now for a single whole packer brisket, which is gonna be about 12.5 pounds or so, weigh it after it's trimmed and then do about a 1/2 teaspoon for every pound or 3 grams for every 1/2 kilo of kosher salt. To that, you're gonna add 1 tablespoon or 9 grams of garlic powder, 2 tablespoons or 17 grams of sweet paprika. I use like a Hungarian sweet paprika, you know, something a little fancy. 1/2 tablespoon or 6 grams of mustard powder, and 1/2 tablespoon or 4 grams of freshly ground black pepper. Then just spoon that for a second, and you've got your beef rub. Then sprinkle and rub all of that mixture all over your entire brisket, and then ideally this should be done about 12 to 24 hours in advance. If you can't, no big deal, but it's gonna be much better if you do. Also, yes, I know these flies are gross and annoying. Trust me, I know. Flies, oh my god. Smoking brisket requires a lot of tender love, kisses, and time. Mainly time, so you're probably gonna wanna start early. Now there are a lot of ways that we can go about this that work, but the key point is that we want the meat to end up at an internal temperature of 200 degrees Fahrenheit or 93 degrees Celsius. The speed in which you get there is our determining factor. You can go as low as 225 degrees Fahrenheit or 107 degrees Celsius for 12 to 16 hours, or you can go 265 degrees Fahrenheit or 130 degrees Celsius for 8 to 12 hours. Faster is gonna sacrifice a little bit of juicy tenderness for speed. So pick a temperature and get a smoker fired up and coasting around that temp. You can also use a grill as a smoker, and there's plenty of guides out there for that. I used a mix of mostly local white oak wood and a touch of hickory wood. Now, once your smoker's at temp, pull out your rub brisket, place a leave-in digital thermometer in the thickest part of the brisket, and smoke it for the listed temp, making sure to continuously feed the smoker wood to maintain heat and smoke levels. Optionally, while it's cooking, you can spray it a few times with chicken or beef broth, but try not to do that too much. Now, once your brisket reaches around 155 degrees Fahrenheit or 68 degrees Celsius, double wrap it in strong aluminum foil with about 1/3 cup or 78 milliliters of beef or chicken broth. Now, make sure you create enough of a base and wrap it super tight so no liquid can leak out. Now, this here is what they call the Texas crunch. Basically, the whole purpose of it is to slightly braise the meat. So it's gonna speed up your cook time quite a bit without sacrificing too much. Now you can smoke it all the way there, of course, but I actually like to use this method. Then place it back in your smoker on a heat-proof tray and continue to cook it until it reaches an internal temperature of 200 degrees Fahrenheit or 93 degrees Celsius. Pull it out, leave it in the foil, and let it rest for 45 minutes to an hour. Then once you've laid your brisket to rest, you can now enjoy the fruits of your labor. But quickly, 2 things about slicing brisket. Always wait till the last second to slice it because the pieces dry out very quickly, and always slice against the grain. The easiest way to do that is to find the layer of fat separating the point and the flat, which you can see in this diagram, and then separate the 2 pieces, then find the grain on those individual pieces and cut it against the grain. Now I know you want a barbecue sauce recipe, but my camera sort of shut off while I was filming that. And it's a really easy recipe, so it's all just gonna be in the description if you want to end up making that sauce. Or you can go sauceless, nothing wrong with that. Now when it comes to serving stuff with this, you're gonna serve this with pickles, which by the way I have a recipe for, link in the description. Things like coleslaw, potato salad, maybe some bread, Hokkaido milk bread maybe, or those Hokkaido milk buns. Now before we go, just a huge thank you to my Uncle Larry for this. He's an incredible craftsman, a father, a forager, an overall nature guy. This video was only made possible because he let me use his giant smoker, and you know, just huge thank you to him. Also, he hand built this gigantic arrow thing called an atlatl, so that's pretty cool. Okay, so now you can officially call yourself a smoky boy. You wanna know what else is a smoky boy today? B-roll.
Guys, and that is it. So, smoked brisket. It's really a very simple concept. It just requires proper execution of technique. Larry came in clutch, and we thank him. With that said, another update on merch design, so we're still working through them. I have a designer who's about to give me all the different mock-ups that she has, so as of right now, the top ones are pretty much gonna be B-roll and flaky salt related. There's a cabinet related one, but you know, any more suggestions, the time to tell me would be now. Now we're gonna do more stuff, and it seems to me like a lot of you guys want aprons, so you know, aprons are probably gonna be a thing too. Who knows? You know, who knows? Because I don't. I literally don't yet. There were a couple people on Instagram who DM'd me these incredible illustrations and stuff to give me ideas for shirts. Thank you to you guys. If you guys are watching, thank you so much. And with that said, if you don't already follow me on Instagram to see all the behind the scenes upcoming stuff, then all the links will be down in the description, including my Twitter and all that jazz, so go ahead and check me out. But with that said, if you enjoyed this video or you learned something, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you next time.
Okay.
On the way to Houston, I'm listening to a really morbid podcast on Stuff You Should Know, one of my favorite podcasts of all time. Oh, this is the worst bottle opener. I just want to get a cool shot, bro. There's people looking at me. Come on. Come on. Oh, hey, look at that.